We're still talking about coronavirus. Germany is one of the hardest hit European countries. Just yesterday, the country's chancellor announced what has been described as the severest restrictions in civic life since the Second World War. Well, political correspondent Thomas Sparrow with our partners DW joins us with more on what is happening in that country. Thomas, it's good to have you. Unfortunately, the world is dealing with this. Now, here in Ghana, we just recorded our 7th case yesterday. First of all, update us on the spread of the virus in Germany and Europe as a whole.
Gifty, nice to talk to you to shed some light on this very difficult situation, not only for Germany, but I would say for the world. And as such, this country here, Berlin, as the German capital, and other cities in the country have been preparing for the very difficult situation. In Germany, we're talking of around 8,000 cases now in the country. And as you yourself said, some very strict measures implemented by the German Chancellor and other politicians to try and reduce the impact of this coronavirus crisis in Germany. Those restrictions include, for example, shops, bars, clubs, playgrounds being shut, religious gatherings being banned, train services, both local and regional, being restricted, and other measures to try and limit this crisis here in Germany. People are being asked to stay home, to not go out unless it's absolutely necessary. And at the same time, the German government has issued a worldwide travel warning, asking Germans not to travel, not to go on holiday, to simply stay here to try and avoid bigger problems when it comes to this. This is as far as the German government is concerned. German measures here in the country. Obviously, there are also European measures that have been taken at a European level, including shutting down the bloc's EU's external borders for 30 days. That basically means that most foreigners are restricted from entering the EU, as well as issuing guidelines to ease the flow of critical goods. We're talking here in particular about food or medicine. So you can clearly see that there's a lot of action when it comes to what politicians are doing, both in Germany and at a European level, to try and limit the impact of what is happening here with the coronavirus.
Talking about limiting the impact of the coronavirus, we know that certain countries, the UK, the US, are budgeting, putting together some very huge budgets to support businesses and the economy, for example. Is the German government doing anything like this?
Germany is obviously very concerned about the potential economic impact of all this. Germany, as an exporting nation, relies on being able to share its products with the rest of the world. And as you know, obviously, this crisis has affected the economy and has the potential to affect not only Germany's economy, but other economies as well in a very difficult way. And as such, Germany has also implemented measures to try and reduce that economic impact. That basically means a massive expansion of loans provided by the State Development Bank, something that was described by Germany's economy minister as unprecedented in Germany's post-war history. So you can clearly see that these measures are not only about what people have to do on their daily lives, but also what the government is doing to try and make sure that the economy is not badly affected by all this, and that Germany can help businesses and people that are affected by the crisis as well.
And regarding the measures that are put in place, that is essentially dictating to people how they should live their lives. How does the German government intend to implement this? Are they sending the military? Are they sending the police out there to ensure that people comply with these?
Essentially, the German government is asking people to comply. The German Chancellor has been addressing Germans, for example, through press conferences in the past few days, asking them to stay at home. I don't think they are going to actually enforce that, asking every single person to stay at home. There is a possibility of, for example, fining people if they leave their restaurants or their shops open. But as such, I think the most important element what German authorities are doing is asking people to comply and making sure that the risks and the warnings are actually available to everyone, and that everyone actually knows what is at stake here. And this is something that you not only hear from the German government at the highest level, but also from local politicians or regional regional politicians, explaining to people what is at stake here and how they can actually help to limit the spread of the coronavirus. Again, it's not something only for politicians to deal with. It's something for everyone to deal in their communities, in their cities, in their towns. And I think most people are trying to respect that. There is some concern about the length, about how long this actually will be in place, how long people will have to stay at home, how long people will have to shut their businesses, which are described as non-essential. So there is concern, and as such, authorities at a local, regional, national level are trying to explain to the public what is actually at stake.
So explaining to the public what is actually at stake here in Ghana, what we're doing is that, schools are on break. Schools have been asked to go on break for at least 4 weeks. Churches and gatherings, other gatherings have all these restrictions. But it has generated a lot of debates here in Ghana. I'm wondering what is happening in Germany. To what extent are people complying with these the restrictions being issued by government?
You mentioned an important point here. Schools and universities have also been closed, been postponed for the time being. Again, Germans are being asked not to leave their homes, not to travel abroad. And there's also another measure put in place by the German government to try and bring back or repatriate all the German tourists that are abroad and that have been left stranded because of restrictions around the world when it comes to air travel. So there's a big project here from the German government to also try and bring back some of those Germans that are still abroad and that can't get home with their tickets as they had bought them in the first place. When you ask about people complying about it, I think the main issue now is awareness. That will be the key word from the German government. And as I said, the German Chancellor and other high politicians or the important politicians in the country have been addressing the public time and time again, asking them to comply. Obviously, you still see people on the streets. You still see, for example, some parents taking kids to the playgrounds, although there has been asked people not to take kids to the playgrounds. But in general, I think a majority of Germans are very much aware of what's at stake here, are very much aware of what the risks are, and are very much aware that they also have to play a part in trying to limit this spread of the coronavirus. By the way, the main institution here in Germany presenting statistics or advice to the German public, an institute called the Robert Koch Institute, has raised the risk level to Germans from moderate to high. So that also gives you an idea of what the problem is here, how big the problem is, and what Germans have to do, not only politicians, but the population as well.
Interesting times ahead, and certainly we will stay afloat in spite of all that's happening. Thomas, thank you so much for that update and analysis. Thomas Sparrow is political correspondent with our partners DW. He joined us all the way from Berlin in Germany, which is one of the, like I indicated earlier, countries in Europe which has been hardly hit. As you heard Thomas say, the risk level has been lifted from moderate to high in Germany. Wherever you are, do stay protected. This is still The Pulse with me, Gifty, and our PR. Do stay.